Hey everyone, Sunday, December 18th, and I think this is a Tomo. What I think I might do is like a Shenanigans Sunday here. And there's a lot of shenanigan stuff going on. So I was just thinking about this, pull some particular headlines that I'm seeing, and let's see what comes of it. So let's pull up some stuff here and flip on over. Well, first, before we go over to that one, let's go to Mr. Elon. Looks like Elon might be giving up the throne to the Twitters. Let's take a look here. Elon. So basically, he put a poll up and he's saying, I'm saying, no, don't give it up. I don't think it really matters here. So, should I step down as head of Twitter? I will abide by the results of this poll. Okay, fair enough. Looks like the yeses perhaps are still a lot of those left-wingy folk that are still on here that want to see him gone, and then you get some of the people here thinking that maybe you'll bring Orange Man back into play. What are some of the top comments going on here? I don't want to tweet a reply to you. I just want to read some of this stuff that's going on. Oh my goodness, I cannot do Twitter. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Load it up, you old horse of a computer. Yeah, so there's some talk going on and just trying to see if there's any of the trying to see what's going to pop up to the top from funniness. Some saying, yeah, okay, let's not worry about that too much. Some saying, hey, how about you put the DJT into it, the Orange Man. And then there's another part in it that he says, well, whoever is going to run it, basically, is going to have a tough job. One is he's not going to pick people that are going to say, like, Donkey and Shrek, oh, pick me, pick me, pick me. It's like, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. Other people are saying, because he was over at the World Cup and he got his little tap on the shoulder, say, "Hey, buddy, go work on your cars. This memeing stuff that you're doing, that's that's distracting some of the shareholders. They think you're got a few screws loose. Maybe yeah, maybe no, but yeah. So we'll have to see what's in this bag of tricks coming up. Suspecting here that perhaps with the pullout of the advertisers who are all kind of like this banal community of lefties all getting together and having their little circle jerk of fun. Once Elon dropped in, they all kind of scattered to the four winds. And perhaps he wasn't getting the advertising money as it going, or there's another possible conjecture here. So, no financial advice, no election fornication, no medical advice here. Uh, Potentially, maybe there's even back channel type of money going in. Like, who knows when governments pass these huge bills or they send financial aid abroad? You ever see anything that get audited? Like, how much of that stuff gets audited? And say, oh yeah, Zelensky did get, cent for cent, dollar for dollar, he got everything that we were sending out to him. So we'll see what happens. 5 hours left. Maybe there's a dump of votes in the middle of the night. Who knows? Moving on. Let's go over to New Zealand. Some odd shenanigans coming out of here. So I pulled the AP news on this because there's some uh, chatter going around that, well, New Zealand is asking people to report your COVID-19 policy critics. So if you are not in on this COVID-19 stuff, and you start to say, maybe the vaccines don't protect against transmission or something like that. You know, I kind of forget what's happening here in the news, but maybe if I remember correctly, that there was some director that went to the EU and said, "Yeah, yeah, we didn't test it for transmission, the boosters, that is." So, man, I'm just gonna put my little conjecture rabbit ears around that. You can go out and you can search for the receipts on that. But now you got this worrying thing where, all right, we got these COVID-19 critics or anybody that wants to criticize. What? Yeah. So, New Zealand intelligence official published a booklet asking people to report friends or family members who are critical. So, that this is the claim, and they're saying, no, that's a false claim. But there is a booklet. There is a booklet. And the booklet is right here. Right here. The New Zealand Security Intelligence Service Guide for Identifying Streams of Violent Extremism. The extremists. And so I'll put a link to this so you can pull it and take a look at it. Interesting. The New Zealand Security Intelligence Service. The how do you pronounce that? Nonsense. 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 Sounds like a group of people who lost the Second World War in Germany. Oh boy. This document reads like a East Germany Stasi thing. Let me just kind of pop through this a little bit here. All right, there's a little, with these fun types of documents. You got the big glossy of all the stuff that if someone has an unusual behavior change, they have mindset and ideology. It's like, wow, the breadth of this type of stuff. They have particular associations and relationships. They do certain research and planning, and they gather knowledge and they do these preparations. It's all pretty subjective. They do give a little bit of things like consumes violent extremist videos, media, music, or messaging. So, what does that mean? Eh? Eh? Open to massive interpretation. It's violent extremist videos. I mean, hey, we're in Canada. We had a prime minister calling during in February, past February, calling the truckers a fringe minority with unacceptable beliefs. Huh. Well, it depends on how far you want to go on finding, okay, what is an unacceptable belief. Praises acts of terrorism and people responsible for violent extremist attacks. And this can go two ways. What about the Waukesha with the dancing grannies and the person that ran them down in a car? Um, would that be an act of terrorism? And the people who are going rah 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 on Twitter saying, "Yeah, go get them." Like, is that this is kind of scary stuff being incubated out of New Zealand. Seeks out or engages with violent extremist individuals or groups. And let's go. Like, you can say something like, okay, if someone's looking to join up with ISIS or something like that, then yeah, that's problematic. That group is doing violent acts. What about what about the Summer of Love? What if somebody gets in those groups that were causing damage? What if somebody gets with that? You know, examines possible targets, conducts reconnaissance. Heck, what if there's somebody who's, looking to beat the snot out of your kid or something? You want to gain some intel and figure out, what's going on. Uh, or what if you want to make sure that you don't become a target? You maybe have gangs walking around in your area. You need to do a little bit of research, figure out, keeping yourself safe. Um, Develop skills, experience, or insight. Seeks training. Let's see here. Conducts training in military, parliament, or paramilitary style survivalist tactics for no legitimate reason. No legitimate reason. There's legitimate reason to do self-defense courses and to make sure that you have a good understanding of self-defense should get into any sort of altercation that happens. And sometimes in order to get that training, you may have to use training weapons or something to understand how the attacks go so you can defend against it. So what about, if a lady goes out and she wants to have self-defense training, and then you have to learn how to use a training knife so you know how the attacker is going to do what they do. All that's pretty important stuff when you want to keep yourself safe. So the worrisome thing here is, you've got, some people who just want to make sure that they have safety in their life, and they do each sort of preparation. But then, somebody says, "Hey, this person's doing preparation," and we think that prepares or disseminates a manifesto. Um, I got these 5 values and how I want to live a good life. You know, work out, eat well. You know, maybe I'll read the Bible. Whoa, whoa! Don't do that. Don't do that. You can embarrass if you do that. Yeah. So the behaviors and activities listed in this indicator concerning when they occur alongside other activities listed in this guide. These behaviors on their own are not considered signs of violent extremism. Oh, so if there's like a connect, like how many of these dots have to be connected before it hits the trigger point? Oh, conceals their online activities by using virtual private networks. So it's like, um, yeah, because even some of these things is, if you're worried about a level of surveillance state as well, then mass extremist think that, yeah. I'll go into something a little bit here, but that so here it is. I'll put this out there. Take a look at it. This says they want you all to be proper drones. Go to work. Maybe not have a family. When's raising a family and having kids? When is that going to be called extremism? It's already feeling like that pendulum swinging that way. So that's quite worrisome. New Zealand, yeah, New Zealand, yeah, it used to be a great place, but it sounds like some some things are brewing over there. So here's another one here. Okay, so there was some talk during the World Cup. And this let's go to our you're not EDI enough. Oh, let's have a drink. Let's have a drink. It's water. Okay. It's not, violent extremist whiskey in here or anything. It's just water. Mm. So I was looking through here in my I saw an article about, whoa, that Argentinian team, it's not diverse enough. There's no there's no colorist people on it. There's no color people on it. They're all whiteys. Well, really? Okay, so first of all, you're calling Latin American person a whitey? Really? Really? Okay. I really like this posting here. I can zoom it in a little bit because this was kind of fun. It says, uh, all the things. Don't put black people in ghettos or create, redlining laws or other things to segregate. Well, I think segregation laws are coming back, uh, especially if you're a whitey. Need not apply. Don't apply to these college grants or bursaries. You're not going to get it, or university here in Canada. And even if you have your research, you have to make sure that your research has a certain level of equity and diversity in it, especially if you're getting grants in some countries here in the West. Uh, yeah, so I thought this was kind of cute here. Not have colonies in the Africans. Oh, okay, glad they put an X over there because you heard of the French. Um, we got the French African franc, the colonial francs. They've been calling it. The Giorgio Milani put that up. She's showing like, hey, France still has a colonial currency out in the Western African regions. Um, yeah, so yeah, pretty much. Should we go over to Africa and tell them that, oh, you got no whites as peoples on your team? You don't have enough diversity, really? And what are they going to do? They're going to go out and they're going to scan through their country and say, whoa, yeah, we found 5 white people that are hanging out in my country. And they're like programming on the computer and they're like soft and mushy. We're gonna put them on the football team and play them at the World Cup. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah. Look, what happened is I think somebody set them straight really fast, and that article got knocked out pretty quick. It's like it's clown world on that one. Clown world. Let's do the Ukrainuses. The Ukrainuses. Here's kind of an odd shenanigan. Well, it's not too shenanigan-y, but this was back from earlier this year, so in June. Now, why is this kind of shenanigan-y? Well, how do you do higher education in a lot of these countries? Now, of course, if you speak a major language, like one of the United Nations, 6 United Nations languages, for example, you have access to you know a bounds of, let's think, textbooks is the article I saw. It's like, well, wait a minute, now that we don't have Russian books in the Ukraine, what is it that we can actually use? Most, I think almost all people in the Ukraine, because I know I worked with some people in the Ukraine long prior to the conflict, and they speak Russian and Ukrainian. Well, why? Because a lot of the technical learnings they have are in Russian. Oh, and there's a lot of technical information that comes from Russia. So are they, if they don't have that, what do they do? They need to speak English. A lot of them do speak English, but not everybody in Ukraine does. That the upper crust of the society will speak English because then they can work in technology. There's a lot of offshore technology that goes through Ukraine, and they're very good technologists there. And so if you don't have the Russian books, well, you can go to English, but then you don't service your populace very well. And then the other thing that you need to do is then translate those books. So you have to translate the Russian over to Ukrainian. That takes a lot of time, a lot of money, um, significant amounts. So primarily the time. So now with the book ban happening, you're creating this void of, students that are coming up. A lot of these textbooks, they need to be um, refurbished. Is not There's new editions that are written, especially in academic texts. As knowledge and understanding is updated, then these books are updated by their authors and the revisions happen. Well, basically, you'll have to get the rights from the author to translate it into another language, and then you almost need, like, usually the publishing house will do the translation, or they'll license it out and allow a group to do the translation under license and permission. So you think, well, yeah, after everything that's gone on, we'll basically give you a license to um, copy this information. Most likely, then what's going to happen is the groups are just going to pull the information, not license it, and just translate it and basically plagiarize it, because rules are not a thing now, uh, from what we're seeing. What that means is then you have to have a group of people going out and scraping this information. Scraping takes a lot of time. Now you could get the next version of the book and then re-plagiarize it, but then you're always behind because then you have to keep it updated. And then and it's difficult to transport these books across the border. So if a student wants to go and they want to take their books with them, then you don't want to get into a whole chain of what ifs and what happens and all that. But it's a burden, and so there's a cost associated with that burden. And then what's going to happen is the upper crust of the people in the country are just going to go somewhere else to get that education, maybe stay in these other countries, causing a brain drain. And there were a lot of high tech companies in Ukraine, and now they'll most likely be, well, if they can ever get electricity, then they're just not going to have the power. They're just not going to have the brain power to reignite in an industrial base. Of course, then you have Zelensky going, so I need $1 trillion. And there's another article, we need $700 million to rebuild Kiev. But really, just Kiev itself, you need 700 million to rebuild it? It hasn't been horrifically bombed. The special military operation wasn't the thing of Russians going in as wiping out all the buildings and infrastructure. They've been hitting power areas, and through Europe and their shenanigans, they've been cutting power and cutting energy by virtue of sanctions and other stuff like popping pipelines here and there. So there's a lot of disruption going on, and to throw another thing on top of that, you're going to have a bit of lack of knowledge. So what else is going on? Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, Zelensky wanted to appear at the World Cup. Want to have a little talk? Have a little talk. Peace, bro. Peace, bro. Uh, oh, if you understand a bit, Ukraine is very nuanced, and I talked about it in other videos. And there's other podcasters and people who present this, uh, present show what's happening in Ukraine. It's nuanced. You can't say this side better than that side or that side better than this side. You got people who have back to the handbook that I was showing you about ideologies. You basically got a group that's more aligned to Russia, and you have a group that's more aligned to NATO. It'd be interesting to throw that book out there. Now, and there's a part of the problem, because that's a bit of what Zelensky was doing, is he's, especially with cutting out the Russian language, is now you ostracize like at least a third of your country. Like, oh, it doesn't matter with you. If you want, go back to Russia. It's like, yeah, what about the land that I'm standing on? No, go, go, go. So you got this kind of reverse colonization thing. So as much as the left screams about colonization, um, basically, um, I said Kiev, like Rus Kiev, is the founder of what is Russia. And so there's an entangled history here, and for Russia to be coming in and taking these areas, well, basically they're reclaiming ancestral land. They got basically their indigenous people, which are the Russians that are on Russian ancestral land. If you can't quite kick them out, if you want, dispute it in the comments. Tell me why it's not ancestral. You just have to keep going and finding, okay, flip flop, flip flop, flip flop. I have to go back in time and figure out at what point do you say, no, this group had was able to use it. And you can, there's all kinds of arguments. I can't remember exactly the one argument, meaning that if I do the work to improve the land, then I have the appropriate rights to that land. And there's a conversation between Jordan Peterson and Benjamin Netanyahu. You can go search that one. It sits up on the YouTubes. And Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu, puts it like, hey, there's a point where the Israelis came back. It was like after the Second World War. It was basically the land they're claiming was not overtly used. And then you get into the piece of, okay, Palestinians versus Israelis. His point, and I'll just make his point, is that the land wasn't being improved. So when the Israelis started to come in, they improved the land, far beyond what they first, when they received it, building buildings, building industry, residential sectors, new farming sectors, and then made the case that, well, since we did all this improvement, it's ours. Well, you know what? That gets thrown into the debate mix. And then we get people, okay, well, what's right or wrong? Kind of the way it works is you're able to get the land, improve it, protect it, build industry around it, build society around it, then there you go. And defend it. There you go. Well, that's colonialism. That's nasty, nasty, nasty colonialism. Then we have to rewind the tape back when Lucy in the Star with Diamonds. Lucy said, okay, anyway, Lucy, the Australopithecus. I can't say the terms for it. So Lucy, we're going back to, okay, well, where's that first missing link human being? And it looks like Africa is the cradle of all civilization. So hey, we're all colonists. No, you can't say that. Well, what you want to do is do wedge politics and wedge stuff and pop in that wedge and pull a piece of the veneer and debate that piece of the veneer when there's all kinds of nuances with all the other bits. Then we're really going to be at a point that we're going to have to disagree. So we've basically, the geopolitical areas or the political lines that make up our countries is that's what it is. If the people decide that they want to do something else, whatever happened to the United Nations and the right of self-determination? That was always a big thing. I did model United Nations when I was little, 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 in high school. And it was always, hey, the country has a right of say, Sudan wants to break into North and South Sudan, and they have a referendum, and everybody has the ink on their finger and says, this is the way we want to go. Some shenanigans into that. That's a big one to pop open. But, if people want to say this is what we want to do. So if, there's a whole strip of people that go from, the West all the way down to the South and North America. I don't want to say the word because then they'll call me names if I say the D word. It's kind of it's a meme, people. It's a meme. It's been falsified. It was a fun trolling meme for a while. And if people vote and say, yeah, okay, let's take an example. One day at the Greater Idaho Project, where you have the groups within Idaho that want to merge with the eastern areas of Oregon and create a larger state. And then there's an area, I think, in the north part of California, they want to create a state called Empire. They want to break off from California. Everything's going crazy there, and create their own place. They can have their rules. They vote for it, then and in the U.S. compact, there's more work that has to be done. There has to be like congressional passages of that, and you'll have to talk to. You have to look at some postings from lawyers that know how the process would work for a state split. Not to say it's happened in the past for us to get 50 states in the United States. Things had to happen in order to do that. So what is Z-Man gonna say? Well, you know what? I like the I guess the director or whoever he is of FIFA said, hey, you know what? People just want to watch the game. Like, get rid of the politics, get rid of all this other stuff. They just want to watch great players putting on a great game, having a great time, and forgetting about all this stuff that's going on. You know what? You're the man. That's exactly what we should do. Just have fun. Hopefully you enjoyed the game. I didn't pay for it, so I just watched it on the Google, where it just has a score and it just gives you the ticker as it goes. And even just watching the ticker, kind of can picture in my head what was going on. Of course, the shenanigans are, oh yeah, I should pull the one about the EU folk. Alleged bags of cash floating around in some EU parliamentary offices. We'll get into that a little bit later, but here's another one with shenanigans going on. Liz, you got the white nose candy. You got white nose candy out at your event. Liz, you doing that? Who knows? Who knows what was going on? First of all, when you're dealing with people at this sort of high levels, like she had some sort of party or event, I guess. Grace and Favor home. Ooh, even that. I'm going to the Grace and Favor home. You better bring some favors. So, white powder was discovered. Claim they tested the powder with a swab, and it indicated that it was the cocaine's. Huh. And possession of cocaine is a criminal offense. Well, who brought it? Who brought it to the party? Now they're implicating, Boris, Bojo, you and the nose candy, you and Lizzie. This is all alleged stuff. Alleged stuff. And who knows what happened? You could have had a glowy that walked in and dropped it on the table. Just like, you better go in and bring in the swabs after this because it's in the powder room. That's where I put it. So you go, you swab it, and then you get it documented. And then if Lizzie doesn't do what we say, we pull the little thing, say, "Ooh, look what happened at your party." Who knows? Who knows? It makes me even think. Let's go shenanigans style here. That, oh, if you want to have these sweet deals, you want to do these things, you want accesses, then you're gonna have to let us put the nose candy in there and have it documented. And if you go out of line, we pull the nose candy manila envelope out. So like the stuff gets packaged up in the little manila envelopes, and they sit off on the side somewhere. And when things happen, the shenanigan envelope gets passed around and it gets placed on somebody's desk. And stop the share. So it gets placed on the desk. And you open up, it's like, oh, if you don't do this, look at this, Lizzie. This is what's going to happen. It was all alleged. Again, I have to say, I don't know. I can only make up fiction. We're here for entertainment purposes. I can only make up some fiction. It's all for entertainment. But what was Epstein's Island used for? Well, if you want to work with the Gates's and the Bezoses, then you have to come. You're gonna have to you have to do stuff, and we'll film it, and then you get the stamp of approval, and we'll allow you that great military contract worth $25 billion. So I don't know. I can just, like an author, write a work of fiction. I'm just going to assume this is fiction. And, well, those are potentially some of the shenanigans going around. I think I'll stop it here. Let me know what you see as some shenanigans in the comments below. And yeah, we'll see what we can pull for next Sunday. So, enjoy. We'll be back again. If anything here you want to call me names, do that in the comments. You got some stuff to add, throw that into the comments, and see if we can maybe generate a community out of some of this stuff that's happening. All right. Maybe I should have a little thing, miracle glow or something. I don't know. I need to make up some sort of thing that is requisite to sign off with, but that will come. These are the early days of this show. Okay, peace out.